Let me ask you something, and I want you to be honest with yourself when you answer. How many people do you know who are absolutely in love with what they do for work, who wake up every single morning fired up and excited, who tell everyone around them that they are living their dream, and yet somehow at the end of every month they are counting coins, borrowing money, and wondering why their passion is not paying the rent? And then on the other side of that question, how many people do you know who seem completely unbothered, who are not posting about their grind on social media, who are not giving speeches about following your heart, and yet they are building wealth quietly, funding vacations, investing, and living comfortably without the whole world knowing their business? If you have noticed that gap and wondered why it exists, then you are in exactly the right place. My name is John, and I am here to have the honest conversations about money that most people are too uncomfortable to have, to break down the financial principles that actually build wealth, and to give you the kind of practical financial education that nobody taught us in school. So if you are serious about changing your financial life, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications, because what we talk about on this channel could genuinely change the direction of your future. Now let us get into it. There is an idea that has been sold to your generation and mine so aggressively and so repeatedly that most people have accepted it as absolute truth without ever stopping to question it. That idea is this: follow your passion and the money will come. You have heard it in graduation speeches. You have seen it on motivational posters. You have watched it play out in movies where the struggling artist or the broke musician eventually gets their big break and everything works out beautifully in the end. And because of that story, millions of people have made major financial decisions based on the belief that passion and profit naturally go together. But here is what nobody tells you at that graduation ceremony, and here is what the motivational poster conveniently leaves out. Passion and profitability are two completely separate things, and confusing them is one of the most expensive financial mistakes a person can make. Think about what passion actually is. Passion is an emotion. It is a feeling of deep enthusiasm and excitement towards something. And feelings, as wonderful as they are, do not pay your electricity bill. They do not cover your rent. They do not build your retirement account or fund your children's education or give you the freedom to travel or take care of your parents when they get old. Money does those things. And money does not care how passionately you feel about something. Money flows toward value, toward demand, toward skill, toward problems being solved. The market does not reward your enthusiasm. It rewards your usefulness. Now, I want to be very clear about something, because I know someone watching this right now is already getting defensive and thinking that I am telling them to give up their dreams. That is not what I am saying at all. What I am saying is that the sequence matters enormously. The order in which you do things financially can be the difference between a life of creative freedom and a life of creative struggle. And the people who have figured this out are not the ones giving motivational speeches about passion. They are the ones quietly building wealth, and then using that wealth to fund everything they love. Here is a simple example that might land differently than all the abstract advice you have heard before. Imagine two people. One person studies art because they are passionate about painting. They go to art school, they graduate, they try to make a living selling their work, and they spend years in financial stress, taking on debt, working part-time jobs that drain their energy, and slowly watching their passion turn into a source of anxiety rather than joy because now their survival depends on it. The other person studies accounting because they looked at the market and understood that financial skills are always in demand. They graduate, they get a well-paying job, they build their income, they invest consistently, and then, here is the important part, they use the financial security and the free time that wealth creates to collect the art they love, to travel to galleries, to fund their own creative projects on the side, to eventually even support other artists. Both people love art, but only one of them is living comfortably. And here is the painful irony. The accountant is actually able to engage with art more freely and more joyfully than the struggling artist, because they are not desperate for art to pay their bills. When you remove survival pressure from something you love, you can actually enjoy it. This is the fundamental principle that changes everything, and I need you to really sit with it. Do what makes money first. Then use that money to do what you love. It sounds almost too simple, but most people do the opposite. They start with what they love, and then try to figure out how to make money from it. And while that approach occasionally works for a very small number of people, it fails the vast majority. The people it fails are not lazy or untalented. They're just working in the wrong sequence. Now let us talk about what this actually looks like in practical terms, because I do not want this to stay at the level of theory. If you are young and you are still in the process of choosing a career or a field of study or a business to start, the question you want to be asking is not what am I passionate about? The question you want to be asking is what is the market value? And can I develop genuine skill and competence in that area? Markets consistently reward certain things. They reward problem solving. They reward technical skills that take time and effort to develop. They reward the ability to manage, analyze, communicate, and create systems. Fields like technology, finance, healthcare, engineering, law, and business consistently produce strong incomes because they solve real problems that people and organizations are willing to pay significant amounts of money to have solved. That does not mean you have to love those fields with burning passion from day one. It means you choose one that you can become genuinely good at, that has strong financial upside, and that gives you the economic foundation to build the life you actually want. And here is something that most people do not talk about enough. When you get very good at something, when you develop real mastery and expertise, passion often follows. The research on this is actually very interesting. Many people who are deeply fulfilled by their work did not start out passionately in love with it. They started out committed to getting good at it, and the passion developed as their competence grew. There is something deeply satisfying about being excellent at something, about solving hard problems, about having people trust and depend on your expertise. That satisfaction can produce a kind of passion that is actually more stable and more sustainable than the emotional excitement you feel at the beginning of something new. Now let us talk about the people who are watching this and thinking, but John the First, am already in a career I am not passionate about, and I am not sure how to make this work for me. This is for you. The goal is not to stay miserable in a job you hate forever. The goal is to be strategic about the season you are in. Right now, if you are in a job that pays well but does not excite you, that job is a vehicle. It is not your destination. It is not your identity. It is a tool that, if used correctly, can fund your actual destination. The question is, are you using it that way? Are you living within your means and saving aggressively? Are you investing consistently so your money is growing even when you are sleeping? Are you using your evenings and weekends to develop skills, build side income, or work toward the thing you actually want your life to look like? Or are you spending everything you earn, staying comfortable, and wondering why nothing is changing? The practical and poor person is not the one who chose an unsexy career. The practical and poor person is the one who chose a well-paying career and then lifestyle inflated their way through every raise, never built assets, never invested, never created any distance between their income and their expenses. Income alone does not create wealth. What you do with income creates wealth. And this is a distinction that far too many people miss. You can earn a very average income and build significant wealth over time if you are disciplined, consistent, and financially intelligent. And you can earn a very high income and have absolutely nothing to show for it if you spend reactively, avoid investing, and confuse earning with building. Let us get specific about what building actually looks like. Building wealth is not complicated, but it does require consistency over time and a willingness to delay gratification in a world that is constantly pushing you toward instant consumption. It starts with understanding the difference between assets and liabilities. An asset puts money into your pocket. A liability takes money out of your pocket. Most of what people spend their money on, new cars, expensive clothes, the latest phone, eating out constantly, are liabilities. They feel good in the moment, but they are moving money out of your life rather than building it. Assets are things like investments in the stock market, real estate that generates rental income, a business that produces profit, skills that increase your earning power. The wealthy person is quietly accumulating assets. The person who appears wealthy is often accumulating liabilities. The next piece of building is understanding compound interest and why time in the market matters so much. If you invest consistently starting in your 20s, time works powerfully in your favor. Money invested early has decades to compound and grow. The person who starts investing at 25 and stops at 35, having invested for only 10 years, will often end up with more money at retirement than the person who starts at 35 and invests for 30 years, because those first 10 years of compounding are so powerful. This is why starting matters more than starting with a lot. You do not need to wait until you have a large sum to begin. Start with what you have. Start now. And let time do the work that you cannot do manually. The third piece is income diversification. One source of income is a fragile financial position. We saw this clearly in recent years when people who depended entirely on a single employer found themselves completely exposed the moment that employer reduced hours, changed policies, or eliminated positions. The financially intelligent person is always thinking about how to create multiple streams of income. This does not mean you need to be running 5 businesses simultaneously. It can start with something as simple as a dividend-paying investment that sends you small payments regularly. It can be a skill you monetize on evenings and weekends. It can be a piece of content that earns advertising revenue over time. The goal is to build a situation where your income is not entirely dependent on your continued physical presence at a single location, doing a single job. And then there is the mindset piece, which is honestly the foundation underneath all of the practical strategies. The people who build wealth think about money differently than people who do not. They do not see money as something to be spent as soon as it arrives. They see money as a resource to be deployed intelligently. They think about return on investment. They think about opportunity cost. They ask not just what is this cost, but what is this cost preventing me from building? They are comfortable having conversations about money, learning about money, and making decisions about money without the emotional charge that many people bring to financial topics. Money is not a morally loaded subject to them. It is a tool. And like any tool, the more you understand how it works, the more effectively you can use it. This brings me to something I want to say directly to the people watching this who grew up in households where money was always scarce, always stressful, always a source of tension and fear. A lot of us carry unconscious beliefs about money that we absorbed from our environments before we were old enough to question them. Beliefs like rich people are greedy or money is the root of all evil, or people like us do not get wealthy. And those beliefs, operating quietly in the background, can sabotage every practical financial strategy you try to implement. Because if some part of you believes that having money makes you a bad person, or that wealth is for other kinds of people, you will unconsciously find ways to push money away even when you are trying to build it. Doing the work of identifying and challenging those beliefs is not soft or unnecessary. It is one of the most financially productive things you can do. Here is the truth that I want you to walk away from this video with today. Passion is not the enemy. Passion is wonderful. Passion is what makes life feel meaningful and worth living. But passion alone is not a financial strategy. Passion without a practical plan is just a feeling. And feelings, no matter how intense, cannot protect you from financial instability, cannot build generational wealth, and cannot give you the freedom to fully live out the things you care about most. But here is what can do all of those things. Financial intelligence, practical decision-making, the willingness to build first and enjoy the fruits of that building second. The discipline to choose delayed gratification over instant comfort. The consistency to invest, to learn, to grow, and to keep going even when the results are not immediately visible. Do what makes money. Get genuinely good at something the market values. Build your income, manage it intelligently, invest consistently, and create assets that work for you. And then, with the security and the freedom that financial stability creates, do everything you love. Travel. Create. Collect. Explore. Support causes you believe in. Fund the passions that light you up. Give generously. But build the foundation first. Because passion funded by profit is freedom. But passion without profit is just struggle with a beautiful name. My name is John. If this gave you something to think about, if it challenged something you have believed or showed you a different way of looking at your financial life, then share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Subscribe to this channel because we are just getting started, and there is so much more to cover. And drop a comment below telling me where you are right now in your financial journey, because I read every single one and your story matters. I will see you in the next one.